knocked loose. White dive on it.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor.
They try to save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, layup. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
Welcome back to the First of the Floor podcast. Ben Vallis here, along with Wayne Spooney, surviving on morsels of off-season nuggets. We're basically Frodo and Samwise subsisting on elvish bread in the mountains of Mordor. Spooney, how's it going, man? You surviving?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Unlike you, I have European soccer to tide me over. So it's soccer season, it's college football season, it's NFL season. So it's not too bad. Obviously, basketball, Celtics, NBA's #1. It's brutal. I feel really disconnected from basketball right now in like a way that didn't happen last offseason, obviously, because we were the champs and you just bask in that glow. And this year was such a disappointing end. It just feels like I need the season to start. I got to get back into it with like actual basketball games because as you'll see tonight, we are combing through Jordan Walsh podcast appearances for content right now.
Well, yeah, it's always darkest before dawn. This might be the content low point, and then hopefully we'll get back into it. Neemi's done his best to deliver us some juice through Eurobasket, which has been great. You mentioned like soccer, and between soccer and Euro, like they are in the depths of the middle of the night in the Australian time zone.
True.
So they have not been delivering, but I have been subsisting on little nuggets of Neemi highlights that we'll get into. So shout out to everyone in the chat and everyone listening later. We're all surviving the offseason together. The good news, though, is that it's 3 weeks today until Celtics Media Day and training camp. So September 29 is the day. Then shortly after, preseason. There's even preseason games down here in Melbourne, which is like an hour's flight south of me.
Awesome, dude. Are you going to go?
It's the star-studded New Orleans Pelicans who are coming down.
Oh?
I think without DeJounte Murray and probably without Zion as well, just knowing Zion and they're playing other NBL teams. I did try and buy tickets a little while ago and they sold out within like 3 minutes.
Damn.
And just not that desperate. I guess having gone to actual NBA games.
That's true.
Yeah, but if it were any other team, please, Celtics. Actually, I'm actually conflicted about that because I don't want like the mileage on my dudes coming down to Australia, and yet I was obviously would love them to visit. So I don't know, folks in the chat, let us know what you think. But those preseason events are going to carry us through to October 21, which is when the season starts. Thank God. So it's all on the horizon, Spoony. It's all coming up, Celtics, eventually. In the meantime, Spoony, do you want to kick us off here? I know we've got a few little mini items to get to. Jaylen Brown himself having a hell of an off season. What are your thoughts on the events going on in Jaylen Brown's life right now?
I think the biggest event is I Show Speed. He had a foot race with I Show Speed. Obviously, I've been a longtime fan of I Show Speed. And I didn't have to look up who he was when I saw that Jaylen Brown had a foot race with a man named I Show Speed, who is, from my research, extremely fast. I guess my understanding is that he is a streamer and does like Twitch content and stuff like that, but he is also really, really fast. He raced like actual runners and like keeps up with them. So Jaylen Brown, in a video when I loaded it up, immediately gave me a heart attack because they're on like they're on like cobblestones. Yeah. Jaylen's in like real clothes and they're surrounded by people, and he went for it, man. Like he was running 100% full bore. He wanted to win this race. I think to me it looked like Jaylen last minute kind of edged in front of I Show Speed, again, a guy I have longtime fan of. And I think Jaylen won. You could argue, depends actually where the finish line was, but it was neck and neck. Neck and neck. And like, it just shows how absurdly athletic Jaylen Brown is because he is 6'6", 250 pounds running at that speed. and Speed is a very small guy. So it's just like kind of a display of the ridiculous athleticism of these NBA players.
Well done, Spoonie. Digging deep for the I Show Speed,
Thank
Jaylen
you.
Brown relationship analysis. That's why I threw it to you. I could not have done that. We do have the clip here, so let us know in the comments who you think won this race. So he edges him and miraculously does not get injured. I could feel the impact of his meniscus on the sound of the knees pounding on the cobblestone. Terrifying stuff. So glad I was not there live, because I would have died. Yeah. So yeah, that's happening for Jaylen Brown. Like we said, hell of an off season. He has also done countless community appearances in Boston. I think mostly promotional events for 741. I think maybe the most exciting aspect is just clearly the quick recovery from the meniscus surgery, which is hopefully, again, very much reading into it, hopefully indicative of how minor the injury and subsequent procedure was. The fact that he's done all of these events, physically taxing events. He's dunking on school principals, also getting locked up by a school principal as well, evidently. And he's leaning into live streaming as well, which along with the Derek White podcast, which I love Derek White, obviously love podcasting. It's kind of they did 45 minutes unpacking for a road trip on their last episode. So I think they're just in their early, infancy of that show. But I want more from the Derek White podcast. Have you had a chance to check it out?
Just clips here and there.
Right.
I love Derek White. Part of what I love about him is he really reminds me of just a very normal, regular dude, right? And being normal and regular doesn't always translate to being the most entertaining person talking in front of a microphone for 45 minutes. And he's not like us, where we're pretty regular, normal people, but we can also say whatever the hell we want with zero repercussions. Derek cannot. He has to generally a curated amount of things he can truly talk about without getting himself in trouble. And packing is one of those things. So, I mean, did you listen to 45 minutes of that, Ben? Did you make it?
Yeah, I've listened to every minute of every episode because I love the Celtics.
Yes.
Obviously, we've done our own podcast about them since 2018. There's an interest there. But even that was waning listening to the latest. There's been some good stuff, the stuff about rocking up to the Celtics facility drunk for the first time after drinking with these old Spurs teammates. There's definitely, we've said, there's nuggets of content everywhere this offseason. It's just it's a famine, as Spoody's cat Cookie makes an appearance in the background. So yeah, but Jaylen Brown getting into the live streaming side of things, which some people might be holding their breath at certain times when Jaylen's live on the air, but we love him. We love to see more of Jaylen Brown. And I guess the reason we bring this up, obviously primarily, is that there's very little going on, but also if I had to read into this, Spoonie, for the sake of this show, for the sake of this juncture in the off season where you kind of have to formulate a take out of nothing at times, it's that maybe I think along with the rest of us, is that this gap year is somewhat a bit of a reprieve, a bit of a let your hair down moment before we retool and the shit gets dialed right back up again. It seems like Jaylen, the way that he's kind of leaning into maybe the more fun aspects, there's less of these intense superhero underwater workouts, or more of just I'm trying to expand my hobbies and my persona out there. That feels aligned with and indicative of kind of the vibe going into this year. Contrary to what Peyton Pritchard has said, where it's we're absolutely gunning for a championship, which is respect, but that's not true. I don't know. Is that kind of your takeaway from it as well?
It almost feels like if you're are in a long relationship for a couple years and you just kind of grow apart, you go your separate ways. It's very sad, but it's nobody's fault. And then you go to that first house party when you're single for the first time in a couple years, and it's just I have nothing to worry about.
Yes.
Nobody's gonna be mad at me for getting too drunk. There's any person here I can flirt with. None of that matters. And it's just kind of none of this season does not matter. We can just enjoy. We can take the vintage Luka Garza off the shelf and chug it right? We can keg stand the Walshy and just go nuts. And nobody's going to get mad at us. Nobody's going to be upset. Nobody's going to be like, did you pee the bed again? It's going to be, you're like to clean that up in your shame by yourself. So it is sort of freeing in that way. Obviously it sucks we're not championship contenders, but and I think you're right. Like you kind of see that rubbing off on Jaylen Brown, and Pritchard's he's a psycho. Like, of course that's what he thinks and he's saying. But I also think I think Jaylen kind of needed this, man. Like he's had so much bullshit to deal with, like people saying he didn't deserve the finals MVP, like people saying, he's worse than Tatum. Then he comes out and has a really bad year where he's clearly playing hurt for most of the year. He's catching a lot of flack. Like people are blaming him for our playoff struggles this past year. I think he just kind of needs a year where he can kind of reassert himself as a true top 20, top 15 player, show what he can do in the absence of Tatum, kind of prove it to himself, prove it to everybody. And then next year we get the duo back together. We all had our year of fun. Now we're back together. We're older, we're wiser, we've grown together, and we're ready to get married.
Yeah, like a working holiday, almost a sabbatical, except you're still in the same place at the same time of year. But the dude got booed. It's like his very first entry point into life as a Celtic, booed immediately. And it's been, he's handled it better than anybody could have imaginably. But it's been somewhat of a struggle, I think, since day one. So a necessary reprieve for Jaylen Brown. We're going to get into some spicy Walshy comments on Chris Forsberg's Celtics Talk podcast in a second, but first a quick word from our friends over at PrizePicks. First of the Floor is presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. The app is really easy to use. To create a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your money. This week, NFL opening week, I'm choosing more on Caleb Williams passing yards. I'm personally very bullish on this offense under coach Ben Johnson. I'm also choosing more than 3 receptions with Jordan Addison out. Man, I've completely messed up my ad read there. Jordan Addison is out. Spoonie, do you know the NFL well enough to know who's filling in for Jordan Addison?
So I'm assuming they're saying give Justin Jefferson more because he's going to get a lot of the targets that Jordan Addison is not getting because he's their number one option already, and they traded for Adam Thielen, who is pretty old. So I suspect a lot of the targets that would go to Addison are going to go to JJJ. And he's so talented, he can handle the biggest workload in the NFL.
Spoonie, saving the day. I appreciate that. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today and choose code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That code is CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Man, you can tell that's my first PrizePicks read in about a year. And also that I'm not a huge NFL guy, but Spoonie swooping in to save the day. And shout out PrizePicks and CLNS for presenting the First of the Floor YouTube show and audio podcast. Speaking of podcasts, Spoonie, Jordan Walsh made a great appearance on Chris Forsberg's Celtics Talk pod, giving us some spicy quotes and just, again, some content to revive us just as we're about to slip into the long night, and Walshy comes out and gives us a couple of spicy meatballs. So what do you take aways from this one?
So I've got a couple of clips here. One is about Tatum, which I thought was kind of interesting, just the way he was talking about Tatum and where Tatum's at. And then one is about they must have practiced with the young guys and some of the new guys without JB and some of the Derek White and some of the veterans. So that is what the first clip is about. Just kind of the mindset of these guys in this weird year without Jayson Tatum and all these guys gone. And then another one about Walshy talking about how they're going to have to play in order to be a successful team this year. So let's do the first one where he's talking about sort of the mindset of these new guys?
Hear that. It's been a weird summer, right? Like the roster has changed. I mean, just start with the guys going out. I mean, you rode on a duck boat with Luke. You know, you got to play with a lot of these guys. What's it like to see the roster change over, and how hard is it going to be not to have those guys in the locker room?
Yeah, man, it's already weird. The energy's already different. You can feel it. It's kind of like everybody's trying to find their footing. Everybody's trying to kind of like make a way because it's a bunch of young guys who, are not necessarily proven. It's a lot of like potential and unproven talent that's on the team. So it's hard to. You can feel it in every workout. It's like where everybody's going at each other's necks. Everybody's trying to earn that spot, earn that play time, earn that position.
Man, so a good amount of just like team speak, but yeah.
I gotta get in that facility. Like I need to know what's happening. I need to see the battles between Hugo and Walshy and the battle for minutes. I'm sure that Missoula is keeping a close eye on things and keeping a steady notebook of who owns those minutes. Even in this new world where it's like minutes aplenty, there is kind of a bit of a battle there in that wing spot to get some of those role player minutes, and also like the audition for next year has begun. And so to hear Walsh calling out the energy, it's exciting. And I'm excited to see like what form the team takes on it. I do think we'll get more of like a thematic return to like quote unquote first to the floor mentality. It seems like Walsh is kind of indirectly speaking to that in this comment. Also, just sub note, we've reached peak offseason where we're insetting a podcast within our podcast screen as well. We've officially achieved peak offseason.
Yeah, we are parsing through Chris Forsberg's podcast. It's you, Ben. You just set this next clip up like almost perfectly, and peek behind the curtain. Ben has not seen these. I mean, I'm sure you watched some of the podcast, but he doesn't know what I've clipped. So this actually goes to this is kind of an extension of what he was just talking about, but more is like less about how those guys feel and about how they're gonna have to play in the season.
Him in there rehabbing when he pops in, and just like it looked.
That was
what you want in young guys for sure, because this year we got to be a different type of team. We're not the same as last year. We have to be more aggressive, have to be way more passionate, have to play harder, faster, and all these things. So it's trying to build to that.
I thought it was interesting that he kind of openly admitted like we could play harder than we did last year.
Yeah, well, I suppose when you just are that talented, right, as we were in the last couple of years, there's more of a sense of like we not rest on our laurels, but like we can lead with our talent. Our talent is the standout quality of this team, and therefore we can leverage that to win. Where it's like now you have to, if you're going to win, you have to take those wins, and you have to force yourself on those wins, and that requires a different approach. And we've seen like these snappy young teams throughout the league. Like I feel like the Blazers kind of constantly reemerge as a team like this, where they're just really scrappy, really first to the ball, first to the floor, if you will. And we'll like steal wins against marquee teams on the road. And I don't know, wishful thinking, but I kind of hope the Celtics can kind of like take that form this year during this gap year.
Yeah, and I do want them to be good, but also like it is the worst thing for us to be like too good. You know what I mean? So it's this weird like balancing act. I was thinking about this today. It's like, would I take winning 25 games, but all our wins are against like the Lakers and the Sixers and the Knicks? You know what I mean? Like that group of teams that we beat all them and lose to everybody else? Or do I want us to like win 40 games? I think I would do 25 and beating the rivals, right? Isn't that kind of the ideal scenario next year?
Yeah, it does. Like I would think that I would want to fast forward through a lot of the season if that were the case, because that sounds like a pretty brutal. Like 8 months or 7 months of NBA Celtic basketball. But like long term, that's going to put us in the best position. But 25 games, that's also saying like, I don't know, Jaylen, Derek, Peyton either didn't play a lot of games, which, in that instance would be the ideal outcome, or like we just weren't very good with what we had. And it's not like a super strong East, so 25 games would be like pretty fucking bad. But obviously in terms of like draft capital and draft position going forward, that's ideal. But I mean, that's got to be well below what we're predicted. I think we're at like 38 games or close to 40 games at the moment. So I think I would take that if I could just like skip ahead and like Taylor's back and we've got the number 1 pick and like how good is this? But like I think that's already what has been like a brutal offseason. To add a 25-win season to that is it's a tough pill to swallow. But I hear what you're saying.
It's an incredibly tough pill to swallow, and like I to your point, like I think about it sort of what is the word I'm looking for? Sort of like metaphorically, or just like as a concept, but actually trying to live through that day by day would be absolutely horrible. So I'm with you. Like I suspect we'll be in that high 30s, low 40s, and we'll be talking more about like kind of our preseason predictions and stuff like that as we get closer to the season. But this team is just not like 25 wins is like Wizards shit, you know what I mean? Like we're just not the Wizards. It's just not going to happen.
Is not going to let that happen, man. He's going to be good for like 35 wins on his own. Have we got? And thank you, Jordan Walsh, for stimulating some conversation during the depths of the offseason. Have we got one more from Walshy?
I do. Yeah, this one is about Tatum.
Him in there rehabbing when he pops in, and just like it from the outside and the little glimpses we see, feels like he's just like really attacking this thing as hard as he can. And I mean, it's not a surprise, but it's interesting to get the little glimpses that we do.
Yeah. I mean, the energy in the gym changes when he walks through. He's not the most vocal guy, you know, but he's more of a silent leader. Him and JB are more silent leaders. So when they step in the gym, you could feel the energy shift. You can feel the attention go on them. Obviously, you know, we've seen him so often. You know, I've seen him from when he, you know, messed up his Achilles to now, and it's a big difference. You know, he's moving around way better, so he's progressing well. I'm definitely happy to see him getting back healthy, but to see him in the gym definitely sets a precedent for everybody else.
Oh yeah, baby.
Progressing well, moving well. I appreciate the inside look from Jordan Walsh, and it's cool and I guess very unsurprising that like a critically injured Jaylen Brown, or Jayson Tatum rather, a critically injured Jayson Tatum is still like a vibe setter in a gym full of professional athletes. That's kind of cool to see. But by all accounts, and now Jordan Walsh is just adding to the litany of reports to say the same thing, is that Jayson Tatum is like progressing really well, moving really well. And like we've said, though, contrary to that, Spoody, in previous pods this offseason, is like we do have somewhat of an inside word that despite all of that, like Jayson Tatum will not be returning in this upcoming season.
Yeah, we have some sources that he's not going to play. And I think part of it is like, even if he's healthy, is there really any point to rushing him back? I think you can make the argument that maybe play a couple games in April just to kind of get over that first step. But like, I don't want to put playoff basketball on him if he's been playing for like 3 weeks, you know, like that just seems extraordinarily short-sighted, something the Sixers would do. And the last team we want to be compared to is the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've completely 180'd on that. So going into the initial start of the offseason, I was like, surely we can turn this around. He's 27. It's like unprecedented juncture in your career, like in your prime to do your Achilles. Like we've seen precedents with older players like come back sooner, like Dominic Wilkins a while ago, but also like Durant more recently. So like it is possible. But yeah, I'm just at the point now where it's like just completely punt the season. We talked about our draft position a moment ago, how beneficial this gap year is. Jaylen Brown, we also talked about for other players on the team. I think we're all clear on what the short-term objective is and what that means for the following season as well. So it's great to hear that the recovery is more than on track. It's great to hear that he's still a culture and a vibe setter, Jayson Tatum. But also, I'm just completely resigned to the fact that like we will not see him. This will be a little reprieve, a little pocket of hopefully not total despair, but something different since at least we started the show in the era of the Jays. And, we're looking forward to the following year when that eventually comes along. Feels like a lifetime away.
Yeah, it really does, but we're getting there slowly but surely. So real quick, would your tune change? Like, okay, let's say like, what if Walshy just hits? What if he's just like good, right? And we're like the third or fourth seed in the East, and it's like Jaylen's just killing it. Pritchard's gone up another level. Derek White's gone up another level. Like Walshy's just a legitimately good NBA wing. Sam Hauser's shooting 48% from three. Neemi's taking a step, and he's like replaced Luke's production, and like Boucher's pretty damn good, fits the team perfectly. and it's March and Tatum's healthy.
I mean, first of all, just immeasurable levels of joy because of Walsh's role in such a tale. Just you could not measure whatever measuring stick we have for measuring joy and happiness. It would be off the charts. Yeah. That is absolutely everything I want in this world for myself personally, and definitely for Jordan Walsh. Yeah, I mean, I think at that point it makes sense to pivot. I think that the way that the roster is set up right now, it's almost so that you don't have to grapple with that. Like, in a sense, Brad Stevens has done his work to ensure that is like basically completely off the table unless we get this like completely unpredictable developmental leap from a Walshy, from a Minot, from a Hugo, and amazingly all three, if that were to be potentially the case. Then of course you have to pivot. And hopefully that all occurs before the trade deadline, so you can make moves around that being the case. But no Al Horford. Like we've suffered such an epic roster loss this year that like I think we would have to make some acquisitions around those guys making developmental leaps as well. And then whatever regular season developmental leaps they make in their like sort of temporary elevated roles, can they carry that forth in the playoffs with Tatum back, with diminished roles? Like the tides would shift, even if we did have to say, okay, like some amazing things have happened here. Let's move around that. Like they would not have the opportunity to continue on as they were at that point, if that made sense. But it is a hypothetical that I think about every day, Spoonie.
Yeah, no, I think your point is really good in that it's like, okay, even if we are like playing really hard and like doing what Jordan Walsh says, and like some of these guys are better than we think, like that's probably not going to happen in the playoffs. And so you're still evaluating this team as like their ceiling, even with JT coming back from an ACL, even if everything goes right, I still don't think our ceiling is championship contender. And it's like, you just can't risk Jayson Tatum's future to like get him playing in meaningful playoff games without like making 100% sure. So like in that case, yeah, it's probably still not worth it. But good God, that would be a really fun season. That would be some like IT era, or like that 2018 playoff run where Hayward and Kyrie were out, and just like how fun that was when everybody stepped up. It would be very similar vibes.
Yeah, Jordan Walsh, like fringe depoy candidate, like 38% from three.
I was thinking more like a good seventh man, but sure. Fuck yeah, let's go crazy.
Yeah, why not, man? That's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. Right. We do have to move on at the risk of making this podcast somehow go for an hour, which is not our goal tonight, I have to say. A little peek behind the curtain there. And so before we move on to some FIBA Neemi, some Eurobasket Neemi, we've got to get a quick word from our friends over at Game Time.
It's football season. And that means it's college football season. And if you are like me and you are a WVU Mountaineer fan, that also means it's depression season. We lost to Ohio University, not Ohio State, the green ones in Athens. We lost. They're not a Power 4 team. But that's okay. It's college football. There's a 12-team playoff. We're not out of it yet. And this weekend, the biggest rivalry in college football, the backyard brawl, WVU, Pitt. And I'm going to try to get tickets. You know how I'm going to try to get tickets? On Game Time. It's super easy. You just hop on the app, you search for the game or team you're looking for, and you're shown all the available tickets. Curated deals make it even easier to find the best seats, the best prices, and their last-minute deals can get you in the building right up to the start of the event, or even an hour after it starts. But maybe my favorite feature is the seat view. I'll show you exactly what it looks like from any seat before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
Shout out Game Time. Shout out Spoonie for getting the ad read done within the confines of the video runtime. Amazing job. Some of us can only dream of getting to that level of ad reads. Neemius Queta, another level that only some can dream of getting to. 15.5 points per game, 8 rebounds per game across 6 games in the Eurobasket tournament, and like flashing a bit of an outside game. Before we get into the conversation, I got a short little clip here of Neemi just like banging a three.
For the checks. Both teams looking to settle in here early, get that first basket. Ventura whips it out to the big fella that we talked about and show.
So he is wide open. There is limited like talent for him to swing the ball to, which like if you ask Joe Mazzulla, I would say he would say that would be the right play to swing the ball.
Correct.
So you have to consider those elements. But very promising, I think, to see Nemi like most likely going to be the starting center for the Boston Celtics this year. To like very casually, very calmly knock down and above the key three. And then I think overall, again, Portugal, like he's kind of the go-to guy. It's a different chemistry to that of the Boston Celtics or really any NBA team. But I mean, you can't say he hasn't like seized that role with both hands and like done fairly well, all things considered.
Yeah, I will admit I've not been watching these full games. I've been keeping tabs on Nemi through highlights. But yeah, he's definitely seized the role. He's been awesome, been clearly the best player. And my understanding is like they upset some stuff and went further than they expected to. And that's really thanks to Nemi. On the jump shot, it looks better than I ever would have thought.
Yeah.
His feet get in front of him a little bit and he kind of loses a little balance, but up top that is all smooth. It's pure bend elbow extension follow through. Like it looks really, really good. He had a mid-range jumper in that game where he like takes a dribble and pulls up, and it like is a pure, beautiful looking jump shot. I don't know how real that is. It is probably not real. It's probably not something we'll see in the NBA, but he's always been fine at free throws. Like he was a 71% free throw shooter in his junior year at Utah State, his last year. That's damn good for a big man. So I suspect like it highlights that his touch is a little better than he's been able to show in the NBA. And I think part of it's just kind of been nerves and lack of playing time and not wanting to miss and getting yanked. And he just looks so comfortable playing for Portugal because he knows like I can miss 3 straight shots and I'm still playing, 75-80% of this game. And like I don't know, like fire some up in preseason, man. Like see how it goes. That jumper does not look bad at all. Remember Amir Johnson's jumper?
Yeah.
The slow catapult. That's what I was kind of expecting, but it's like up, down, bang. Like it looked really good. So fire away, Nemi, and like credit to him, dude, for just balling out against like some legitimately good players too. Like Eurobasket's no joke.
Yeah, definitely. And shout out to RJ, the comment here and the super chat. Nemi played with the pressure of being a leader for his national team, and he held up under that stress to take Portugal, I was going to say Portugal to a new level. I'm looking forward to him starting for the C's this year. And thank you for the super chat, RJ. Very generous, especially this time of year. Hopefully that shooting form replicable in the regular season for the Celtics. Like you said, Spooner, the pressure's going to be off. And to a certain degree, I would imagine the pressure is kind of off in that case, in FIBA as well, like Portugal, not exactly like the weight of massive expectations playing under such a thing. So hopefully that is replicable for Nemi. He just looked good. He looked quite good defensively as well. He was pretty good at locking down the paint from what I could tell, admittedly only watching the highlights. If you had to guess, Spoonie, who do you think is going to have the bigger impact this year for the Celtics overall? Is it going to be Nemi? Is it going to be Trebuchet, Chris Boucher? Also, like speaking of that catapult jump shot before, like that's our version of that this year. Or is it going to be the Xavier Tillman comeback? Or is it going to be Luka Garza? That's essentially the entire front court. Who do you think is going to have the bigger impact this year?
I mean, it feels like the easy answer is Boucher, and I think it will be Boucher. Like, he's just a vet, man. He knows how to play basketball. Like, he can just do things at like a pretty high level. He's a great weak side rim protector, and he'll shoot threes, and he's bouncy and quick twitch and athletic. He's like kind of not a good defensive player in some ways though. So like he's a great weak side guy who gets over and gets blocks and stop shots at the rim or challenges shots at the rim, but he's not a good like stationary, I'm in drop, I'm playing and I'm protecting the rim and I'm walling off ball handlers and getting back to my guy. Nemi is not either, but he has shown some flashes of that, and he's just a much bigger body than Chris Boucher. So I think his like chance of being sort of like how we used KP last year or the year before, I think Nemi has a chance of being that kind of like really impactful, like I challenge 15 shots a game because I'm just always around the rim. And if you get me out on the perimeter, like he's moved his feet a couple times too. So I think the answer is Boucher, but I think second is like so very obviously Nemi, and it is not close. Like I think the gap between Boucher and Nemi is a lot smaller than between Nemi and Luka Garza.
Do you think the like peak version of Xavier Tillman, Jake is going to kill me for even asking this question, because I kind of forget what that looked like, but there was a time in Memphis where Xavier Tillman was like pretty highly regarded, and you know when that acquisition was made, you know Brad Stevens was lauded for his abilities to somehow pry Xavier Tillman away from the clutches of Memphis, and then obviously huge fall from grace after that peak moment of that corner three in Game 3 of the NBA Finals a couple of years ago. But like, if somehow it was injury related that he had that huge drop off in form, and X does bounce back to his previous, because he's only like 27 years old. It's not an age related ailment. Do you think the best version of Tillman kind of exceeds what we could expect from Nemi or Chris Boucher or Luka Garza?
I think that like healthy like Memphis Tillman's floor is a lot higher than Nemi and Chris, not a lot higher, but higher than Chris Boucher and Nemi. I think sort of his game to game impact when he's playing that at that level is very repeatable because he's a good passer and he switches, and like switching defense can just break offenses. Teams are a lot better at attacking it by ghosting and doing some other stuff or hunting mismatches, but like a switchable legitimate five guy who can rebound is just so difficult to contend with, and Tillman can do that, where I don't think you can really point to Boucher or Nemi and say this guy is an elite drop defender, or like this guy is awesome at like trapping and recovering. Like they just don't have that. It's just like they can kind of do some stuff and you got to hope they figure it out. Not the case with Tillman. And then offensively, you've got weapons. He can just hit in the short roll, make the right pass. He's a terrible finisher, so teams can kind of ignore him, but he'll get in like floater range and at least get them up. So, but like high end, I think like Boucher, and especially Boucher, like if he's making threes and he's like catching alley-oops and he's like swatting everybody, like there's games where Chris Boucher looks like fucking awesome. And like same with Nemi, like I bet Nemi has like a 15 and 14 game this year with like 3 blocks, you know, and an assist or 2. But I just think like Tillman's repeatable skills when he's like healthy, and actually Xavier Tillman, just give him a really, really high floor.
Yeah. And then the other view on that is like, we kind of, if we want the season to go how we think we want it to go, which is like to end with a decent, like a lottery position, like we kind of are depending on none of our bigs to fulfill their potential, because like that's the huge gap in our roster. And we kind of like by design, they are bad collectively. We kind of need them to be that way. So while it would be a fun success story for one or more of them to like have, you know, see that huge developmental bump, we're kind of counting on them not, if I'm being like morbidly honest.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But we'll see. I do follow X on Instagram, confusing because X is its own social media platform, but he has been like putting up threes this offseason as well, for whatever that's worth. I mean, it's, you know, we've seen the Ben Simmons clips, so it's probably worth nothing, but he's having a red hot go, which you love to see. Let's end on this, Spoonie, and I'll throw to you. I know you've got the details here, but there was a recent announcement of a small salary cap increase. Can you talk to us about like what that means for the Celtics, if anything?
Yeah, so the projected salary cap for next year went from 165 to 166, so that's $1 million in wiggle room. But like the important thing for us is like that also moves the aprons and the tax line are based off a percentage of the cap essentially. So those jump up too. So it just gives us a little more wiggle room than we had. You know, it's only $1 million, but like when you're a tax team, every $1 million counts, right? Like when you're paying, we're not anymore, but like when you're paying 7 to 1 on every dollar that you spend, like $1 million is a huge difference. It's $7 million you're saving, right? So just real quick, next year, that basically means that the tax line will be a roughly $200 million. And if we let Simons walk, but keep Baylor, Walshy, and Minot, that's $20 million. We're $20 million under the tax. So that we need to fill out some roster spots. But if we could even like bring Simons back on like 12, 13, 14 million a year and still be under the tax next offseason. So
wow.
The salary cap hell this bump helps. It's just $1 million, but it helps. And just the cap going up every year at the rate it's going up. We are going to be kind of out of this salary cap hell next offseason, essentially.
Mm-hmm. We need good news on the horizon. And although that's minuscule at best, with how much the CBA has just fucked us, for lack of a better term, like to hear like things are starting to creep back in the right direction from a financial perspective. Like money is finite. And even though Billy C's got this big group together and, by all accounts, they've got deep enough pockets to like keep the ball rolling here with the Celtics momentum, like that money will run out at some point. And so to hear that there are like sort of short-term savings to be made as a result of this this cap adjustment is good, I guess. Man, I hope we've got something to talk about next week. Anything else on your mind? Anyone else in the comments got any other thoughts? I guess like to go back to the point we led with, like 3 weeks to go. Then we got training camp. Then we got content. Then we got things popping up on our feeds. We've got the Peyton Pritchard hype train is leaving the station. There's plenty to come up. But have you got anything coming up for Celtics blog, Spoonie?
I think I might have to retire as a writer. I just don't have it. I just don't have it anymore, man. Like every time I sit down, it just feels like maybe I'll come back in a year or two, but it's just kind of gone. I've been really busy with work, and like
same.
I'm an attorney, so I do a lot of reading and writing for work. And like the thought of like sitting down at 8:30 after my kid's gone to sleep and just writing more, it's just not. I used to like love it and like look forward to it, and it's just not there for me anymore. So I think I've retired for the time being. Maybe I'll MJ it and come back. Yeah. So
Bill Simmons pivot to podcasting, but
there we
already
go.
Done that.
Yeah. Oh, and real quick,
cool.
I think we're gonna start the Eastern Conference Rivals series in coming up here. So in the next couple weeks.
That's right.
So this year, our rivals are a little different than they have been in years past. So you get to hear some from people for teams that we haven't had somebody on from before. So like, like the Wizards and the Raptors. And
Raptors.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No,
that's going to be fun.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to be able to broaden our Rolodex of rival podcasters to get on. I'm looking forward to that, and it's something that I know Jake's been leading for the past couple of off seasons. So really looking forward to that. We'll have to fire up the fantasy league, the Patreon fantasy league. If you want to be part of that, you've got to subscribe to the Patreon. But that'll be year 2 of that fantasy league. So looking forward to that draft. Maybe we'll stream it on the Patreon as well. Who knows? That is going to do it for this one, though. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really going to be ramping up the content as the NBA world begins to sort of reactivate. And Jake and I will be back on here early Wednesday morning, so like 36 hours time. Links are in the description to Jake Eisenberg's work with Celtics blog. Everything Spoonie's written up to this point and may at some point do again in the future. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Spoonie, love your work, man. Until next time, go Celts.